Hello, everybody, and welcome to Inspiring Messages. I need to ensure that we have it correct. Okay. Yeah. So, this is actually take number 2. We did this months before, and we got an hour and a half into our program, and then we realized, 1, everything died, 2, it wasn't recording properly, and 3, it just wasn't sounding correct. So here we are for take 2. I am sitting here with Ryan Newton, and we are going to be discussing many things, faith most in particular, but many other different topics as well. So, Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Mr. Kimmy. How about yourself?
Not too bad. I have to remember to do. We have a certain thing we have to do. I have to switch in between mics, which is something I'm getting used to at the moment. In any case, I am doing fantastically well, aside from the fact how much I've been working on this interview. But all things come in good time. The Lord has ways of making things work for the better. And last night was apparently something that was not supposed to go well, much to my chagrin. And I actually had a very, what shall we say, an interesting conversation with him last night where I wasn't exactly pleased. So, yes, if we were to say just how unhappy I was, I told him while I was in the shower, well, thanks a lot. What else do you want to do to me tonight? So Ryan, let's hear from you now.
Well, first of all, I'm really happy to be here. I'm really glad that you reached out to me this summer and asked me to do this, and I'm glad that it's finally coming to fruition. And to the folks that are listening at home, hello. I'm so thankful that you all are going to be tuning in and listening to us chat. It really is a blessing. Is there anything particular? Where do we want to start this conversation?
Well, I'm trying to think, because we went off on several tangents last time.
I think probably the best place to start would be the beginning. I guess would be the best place to start. So where I started with my walk with God and where that has led me. So just very briefly, I started, I guess, my walk with God in a really roundabout way. It was March of 2019. March 15th, 2019 was the day. I was lifeguarding at the pool at the high school, and I met a girl by the name of Victoria, or Tori as I've come to call her, and she and I became very fast friends. At the time, I was not a believer. I was very much so an atheist. I was in the camp of God doesn't exist. How could he possibly exist? He's so paradoxical. It doesn't make sense. You can't see him. Well, she and I got on the discussion of religion a lot, and every once in a while she would ask me to go to church with her, and I found every excuse in the book to just not go. Oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm going fishing, I got a baseball practice on Sunday. I didn't. But eventually she caught me on a day, March 29th of 2019, or May 29th, excuse me, where I just did not have anything going on. And she's like, Ryan, I know you don't have anything going on Sunday. Would you like to come to church with my family and I? And I said, fine. Little did I know that one moment, that one Sunday that I spent with them would turn into 2 Sundays, which would turn into, 3, which turned into me getting baptized in August of that year, and that was the beginning of my journey and my walk with God. And I thank her. I thank her persistence and her stubbornness first and foremost, and I thank her family for being so kind and welcoming to me. And I do owe them a lot. And right now I'm trying to pay it forward with my service in the Navy, both to them and to my family, who was also very, very supportive of me whenever I said that, hey, I want to start going to church again and everything like that.
So, were you ever, was your family going to church at all? Were you, ever, like, exposed to it at all?
Yeah, so I would actually go to church a lot when I was younger with my grandmother. She goes to the little Methodist church nearby, right on Parade Street in town, and I remember going to church with her. I would go to the McLean Church with my dad and our family periodically, but it wasn't ever something that I was like serious about. I think I at the time I just didn't quite grasp what it meant to be a follower of God and what it meant to have that faith and to be a Christian. And I was just kind of more going to go. It was like going through the motions almost. But yes, I did have exposure, but whenever I was 16, a sophomore in high school, I was a moody little teenager that wanted to, think of himself as already an adult, and I wanted to think that I was, good enough to where I didn't need something like God in my life. And boy, how wrong I was in saying that and thinking that.
So, why is it that you decided you didn't exist? Why did you just make this decision? What was it that, I know the words, you know the words,
Yep.
what I mean to say. It's one of those things that all atheists have
Yep.
some reason as to why they will make every excuse possible as to why they don't believe. And yet, what is very interesting to me personally is they'll use the Bible to disprove, they'll use the Bible more than we do, which I find incredibly fascinating. So, let's speak a little bit on that.
I think for me personally, it was twofold. The first is I'm the kind of person, to put it very straightforward. I'm the kind of person that needs to see things to believe them. I need to experience something, or I need to have it in my face right there for me to see, in order for me to have any sort of understanding or any sort of belief in it. So that was one big reason. And up until I met Tori and her family, I hadn't experienced God. I hadn't experienced His majesty or His power in a very direct way. The other reason was, looking back on it now, I can say that the other reason was because I was afraid to believe in something like that. And I think that's what a lot of atheists are also afraid of, is they're afraid of believing in something like that. They're afraid of the impossible, or what they think is impossible. Something of that magnitude, like to the magnitude of God or just any divine being, is something that literally terrifies and frightens people, and rightfully so. Like, when you think about it, the wrath of God as it's detailed in the Old Testament is terrifying. It really, really is. But he's also a very, very loving God. And that's the part that people just can't grasp. And I think that's what causes so many people to turn away from the faith and wanna just not believe. That's just my take on it, though.
So as you say the Old Testament, you bring up a very good point. The Old Testament is full of a lot of death, full of a lot of killing, probably hundreds of thousands, if not more, and all directed by God telling his people to kill all these people. And here we are in the present day telling people what a loving God he is, instructing us not to kill, instructing us not to lie, not to steal. And then people look at the Bible, look at the Old Testament, and they say, well, how are you saying this when everything contradicts everything that we see back here? But then we have to describe to them, well, this was completely different back then. This was what we prefer. This is the old way. The new covenant between us and Christ is now the new way, not the old way. So, how about what is your personal thoughts on that there?
Well, it's exactly like you mentioned. That was actually one of the things that I just could not wrap my head around until I had it explained to me. Even as a Christian, I was kind of struggling to grasp this understanding of the old versus the new covenant, and the paradigm shift that took place. My understanding of it is now, and my take on this is the night of the Last Supper, when Jesus and his disciples broke the bread and they took the wine. That was everything coming full circle. That was all of the prophecies laid out in the Old Testament coming true. And that was the completion and the establishment of the new covenant in the blood of Christ. And that made it so we as Christians, we as followers of Christ and followers of God, now no longer need to look to the Jewish law to guide us as guiding principles. We now look to the teachings of Jesus. My pastor at the church that I go to in town, he puts it very, very wonderfully and very, very succinctly that we need to look at the Old Testament and its teachings in light of the New Testament. It's not that we're completely throwing them out, because there is still a lot of wisdom to be found in the Old Testament. It's just that we need to look at it from the perspective of what the New Testament teaches us, because the New Testament is the foundation for us as Christians.